The little blue planet of the Milky Way is in emergency mode. It's changing rapidly, and for once, humans are entirely responsible for it, whether it is biodiversity loss or climate change. Ironically, humans are also among the worst sufferers, and the ongoing pandemic is quite a testimony to that. It takes no rocket science to understand that diversity ensures stability. Today, we take a look at some of the most charismatic representatives of terrestrial biodiversity in Asia, the big cats, and try to understand why is the conservation of big cats, be it the tigers or the snow leopards, a political, social, and economic priority in one place and not even on the radar in the other. We will try to explore what can be done to make them a mainstream issue so that we can coexist with the big cats and be better neighbors. Hello and welcome to the Big Cats, Big Opportunities podcast series. I'm Koustubh Sharma, International Coordinator of the Global Snow Leopard and Ecosystem Protection Program and Assistant Director of Conservation Policy and Partnerships with the Snow Leopard Trust. I'll be your guest host today. So we have with us Mr. Khalid Pasha, who is the coordinator of IUCN Green List and is based out of IUCN's Asia Regional Office at Bangkok. Khalid plays a leading role in taking forward the Green List standards across the region and contributes to the regional agenda for protected and conserved areas more broadly. Khalid's earlier work with WWF helped promote the Conservation Assured Tiger Standards, or CATS in short, which have now been adopted by more than 125 sites across tiger range countries. Our other guest is Dr. Ridhima Solanki, coordinator of public sector partnerships with WWF-India and a former wildlife biologist and GIS expert with the Global Tiger Forum. And in a career spanning over a decade, she has also been involved with the National Tiger Conservation Authority, Government of India for National Tiger Census, and the Cheetah Reintroduction Program. Our third guest is Dr. Nawang Norbu, founder and head of the Bhutan Ecological Society. Nawang is currently leading Bhutan's More Than a Million Tree initiative. Prior to this, he served as the director of the Ugyen Wangchuk Institute of Conservation and Environment. While at the institute, he initiated and coordinated camera trapping work across Bhutan's protected areas and outside to track tigers and other big cats. It's an absolute honor to be among such an incredibly experienced group of people today. Thank you all for joining us. With that, I'd like to first turn to you, Khalid. We have issues such as COVID-19, unemployment, economic slowdown, energy crisis, and poverty to worry about. Our politicians have enough challenges in their hands, but still there are some countries whose political leaders worry about the conservation of big cats, such as the tigers and snow leopards. There are places where political and social discourse includes big cat conservation. Khalid, you've worked in tiger landscapes and have encountered the tiger face to face. You've also worked with the local communities and also with people at different stages of power. Please do tell us what you think, why tiger conservation is a concern for some countries, whereas others don't even have it on their radar. Khalid.
Thanks. It's an absolute pleasure here, Koustubh, for me to be joining with such eminent people here to talk about the tiger conservation. And as you rightly said, it's the political leadership. It's the leadership which makes the conservation different in different countries. Then also coupled with the long-standing cultural priority and the rituals and embedded ethos that they play a very different kind of a role and a very strong role in conservation and a well-coordinated conservation efforts with local communities. So we cannot forget when we talk about conservation, it has to be inclusive and we cannot leave behind the local or the indigenous communities. Also, if you look at in some of the regions, as you said, some places the tiger conservation is working very well. And we have seen the doubling the number of tigers, and this is the year of the tiger. And when the goal was set in 12 years back in St. Petersburg in 2010, in Southeast Asia, we have seen countries stepping up and already investing a lot like Thailand. And now in a very recent time, Malaysia has just shown that leadership and shown that hope that all is not lost in Malaysia and there is a chance for the recovery of tigers in that region too. So the political leadership, as I said, plays a very important role in percolating down the messaging from top to bottom Also, given that the Global Tiger Forum over the years has really strengthened this commitment, which was made at St. Petersburg, and the Global Tiger Recovery Program has brought together the range countries for the doubling the number of tigers. So GTF have really played a pivotal role in keeping this momentum and driving this conservation forward for the big cats, especially for tigers.
That's brilliant, Khalid. Thank you for the valuable insight. The involvement of political leadership and getting the local communities to be a part of the conservation agenda are undoubtedly the key to mainstreaming conservation. You did mention the Global Tiger Forum, and on that note, let me come to you, Dr. Ridhima Solanki. You worked for years with the Global Tiger Forum, which has brought together several tiger range countries on the same platform. Please do tell us, Ridhima, how and why GTF matters, and how is this intergovernmental alliance even useful for tiger conservation?
Thank you, Koustubh. Um, we can say that Global Tiger Forum is voice of the tiger range countries. It provides a platform to discuss the challenges, the gaps in tiger conservation with the experts, global experts, and then it pushes the political will so that the decision making can be more informed. Global Tiger Forum also provides hand-holding in countries for tiger assessment and reintroduction programs like Cambodia and Malaysia. GTF also provides a platform for cross-border, trans-border coalition like in India and Nepal, India, Bhutan, Thailand and Cambodia is Thailand and Myanmar also. This not only involves the other department to come together and bring in conservation of tiger alone, but it also provides a protection to prevent the trafficking of animals across the borders. So all the defense personnel and protection agencies, they are brought together in one particular platform to have a discussion how the animal poaching can best be tackled across the borders.
Now, that was a brilliant summary of the breadth of the work that is going on across the tiger range for its conservation, and the cooperation between the countries for wildlife conservation makes our hearts sing, if I may say so. What's truly encouraging is how some of the countries are setting and raising the bar to greater heights. Now, this is perhaps a good segue to zoom into one of the countries that is leading the conservation baton from the front. It is perhaps the only country in the world to have set up biological corridors connecting all of its protected areas that cover more than 50% of the country's landmass. And it is perhaps the only country in the world that is carbon negative and is working hard to remain so. Let's go to Dr. Nawang Norbu to hear his opinion from the inside. Nawang, please do share with us, firstly, why conservation has been a priority in Bhutan, and secondly, but more importantly, what are the forthcoming issues that you feel big cat conservation is going to face in Bhutan? In other words, what, according to you, is the way forward, not just for Bhutan, but also for the entire region?
Thank you, Koustubh. Bhutan has been very fortunate at many levels, I think. And due to the coming together of what we call tendre in our culture, or auspicious coincidence, we have fortunate to be a very small, rugged country. So geographically, we were very isolated. And together with that, given our leadership, we have been very fortunate that today, in the 21st century, we are one of the few countries to have 72% of our land under forest cover. We have an amazing area of biodiversity. In fact, we have almost 10 of the cat species, global cat species. I think that's almost 30%. Koustubh, you are the expert. You might have to correct me on that. And because of that, in today's world, when we see, many other countries losing their forests in other areas, I think Bhutan is truly one of the last biodiversity refugia in the Eastern Himalayas, if not the entire Himalayas. And like you said, Bhutan is also carbon negative. And right now, there's a debate that there are many carbon negative countries in the world, but I think Bhutan may be the only truly carbon negative country in the world today, because even if the Bhutanese were to double their emissions tomorrow, we would still be carbon negative. So that's quite an achievement, I think. But the good stories aside, this has come at a cost, I think, of economic prosperity and economic well-being. And as we go forward, I think that's one of the challenges we have to contend with. As we move forward, they're changing aspirations. The youth are looking for jobs, they're looking for contentment, they're looking to reap the dividends of economic prosperity. So, how do we do that? How do we translate conservation into well being for people? Going into the 21st century, there is no one country which is going to solve everything. As we move forward and as we look into the future, while Bhutan still has this incredible conservation story, we are beginning to understand that conservation cannot happen at a country level. So as we talked before, institutions like Global Tiger Forum and the IUCN, all these other international partners, they have got to step up their roles in trying to bring countries together. Tigers do not respect boundaries, as that's commonly said between people who have been in the conservation world. There are no Bangladeshi tigers, and there are no Indian tigers, and there are no Bhutanese tigers. Bhutanese tigers actually go down to India. Indian tigers come here. And I think as we move forward, the only way I think we would be able to preserve big cats, including the snow leopards or the tigers, would be to make sure that we have a regional or a global approach.
Thank you, Nawang, for that insight. Now, something that's coming out of today's discussion is that political will and societal acceptance is critical for big cat conservation. Let me take this opportunity to share an intriguing success story that blends good science, community support, political will, and multi-pronged advocacy in a snow leopard habitat. South Gobi in Mongolia might be dry and desolate, but is a prime snow leopard habitat. The country sits on a gold mine. And when I say so, I mean it quite literally. Much of the country is rich in minerals, and around the year 2010, thousands, if not hundreds, of mining exploration licenses were distributed to a large number of international companies. About 100 of these licenses were also given out in some of the prime snow leopard habitats around the Tos Mountains in South Gobi, where the world's only long-term study on snow leopards has been going on since 2008. Now, with an unprecedented threat, it required a Herculean effort for the conservationists in the country. And one such conservationist is Ms. Baira Agwansenen. She heads the Snow Leopard Conservation Foundation of Mongolia, which works with more than 30 local communities spread across the country's 500,000 square kilometer of snow leopard habitat. Baira, as we all dearly call her, got the full support of local communities who did not want their traditional pastures and oases to be lost to mining. So, flanked with such support, she and her outstanding team worked up the political system to convince the government not only to revoke the mining licenses, but also transform a staggering 8,000 square kilometer area into a protected area. Her team continues to work with the local communities and governments to develop a management plan for the protected area so that it remains protected, but at the same time also ensures livelihood opportunities for the local people. And on that note, I'll put our guests in a spot and request them to do something that's probably difficult. Since you all have years of experience and knowledge, it won't be easy, but I'd like you to share one suggestion, that one thing you would like to see happen moving forward towards making the big cats our good neighbors. 1 point. Let's start with you, Khalid.
Yeah, it's a tough question, but I would say that what we need is the political momentum to lead with the inclusivity of the local communities and investment together with that. And if we can make that happen through effective conservation and communication so that we ensure that it becomes a part and a parcel of the political agenda as well as the business. We can go beyond seeing these big cats, beyond this, where they become just a part of your showroom or sitting there, but to be free ranging in the wild. So that's what I look at it.
Thank you, Khalid. That's very well put. Ridhima.
Koustubh, I will say a combination of two things. One is involvement of local people for the conservation efforts, as well as research, because these two things are still working towards the baseline information gathering itself. So I think these two are these two are the important topics where we have a long way to go and for a successful tiger conservation.
Thank you, Ridhima. Over to you, Nawang.
I always think that that's an important thought. Is is what kind of world do we want anyway, right? I mean, I think that's a question which each one of us will have to ask. Do we want a world which is wild and magical, or do we want something which is very sanitized? And to me personally, I think Wildcats is the epitome of everything that's wild and magical and powerful. And I think we should strive for that. Putting it into one thing would be very difficult, but we need, of course, finances where it matters. And we did talk about this. I think Khalid mentioned this. So we have to make sure that financing is channeled, barriers to finance is removed, that financing really finds where it needs to be. And perhaps more importantly, how do we make sure that financing is also used to redesign the way we do education so that we produce greater leaders, empowered citizens who feels that we create a world where people cannot imagine a world without tigers. You know what I mean? I think if we can create that world, then we're in a good place, I think. Or for that matter, just to make Koustubh happy, snow leopards. Thank you.
Thank you, Nawang. No, I completely agree. And this is such a nice direction the conversation is taking. I mean, Nawang, you ask a very important question about how do we broaden the discourse and make it a priority, not just for the next generation, but also corporates, politicians, general society. So I think the answer perhaps lies in what connects to us, right? Now, nobody in the world spoke about climate change till it started hurting economies. Businesses started realizing, till countries started realizing it's going to destroy economies, it's going to destroy livelihoods, it's going to cause massive upheaval to the society. The moment it started affecting or it started connecting to people, I think it became a priority. So at some point, maybe there has been a failure on our behalf in communicating biodiversity conservation, whether it's because of climate change or other human-induced factors. It's something that we must invest in to make it an issue of a concern to a student who's who's studying law, or to a business holder who has nothing directly to do with the forests and the tigers, but is dependent on the same forest and the tiger for the water that she or he drinks in the tap, or the air that they breathe right outside their apartment building. So I think till we communicate the connection, we communicate the effect or the impact these losses have, I think they remain someone else's problem. The moment you start relating and start seeing the problem you're going to face, your children are going to face, that's when you start making it a priority, an issue of concern. That's it for today. And thank you very much for joining us on the Big Cats, Big Opportunities podcast. We'll see you next time.